As a small biz pro, so we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, so we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a Business Zone with
Crystal
and Coach Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And folks, remember today it's all about the money.
the money. Well, welcome. So did you have and welcome to everyone out there in wonderful in audience land. Today is the 20th of September. So we're already actually tomorrow in summer and we go into fall. So I'll see what that looks like. Although I think we're going to have another heat wave tomorrow. So yeah, they said that not like it was, not the hundreds, but it is going to get back. It's going back. The heat is coming back, just not to the magnitude that it was a couple weeks ago.
I feel like I didn't even have a summer, man.
That's because you haven't left your house.
Oh man,
you have to leave your house to see that there's a world outside of the house, man. There's a world outside of the house. But so the 21st is the first day of fall. So we're now going into the fourth, heading straight into the final quarter of this year. So if you guys are not on target with your goals, then you might have to adjust that target and start all over again in 2025.
Last quarter.
Last quarter is on its way. Hey, Brandon. So, because you can do what you can do. Although you got time, you can make the last quarter really, depending on what you're selling, what your services are. We got the holiday season, so if you can make that happen to get you there. If not, then we have to be much more diligent about it next year in 2025.
So, well, the two toughest quarters in any business cycle is the first and the last quarter. The last quarter, more than ever, is tougher. This is the toughest one because that's when people start tapering out. They start, I'm going to save my money until next year to buy this. I'm going to redo my budget and many government contracts. Their years start October 1st. And that October 1st start line is like, okay, we're not going to take on anything new for the rest of the year. So you guys better come back next year.
Well, the first quarter is always a tough one for me. It is brutal, man.
Mainly leftover from the holidays, right?
Yeah, because everything kind of closes out on, everything kind of shuts down in December, which means all your invoicing and everything is down. And then you got to wait that whole first quarter to build back up the momentum, right? And then if you didn't do and then generally, the second week getting closer to Christmas, you're kind of not really doing anything, right? So you didn't really have a lot to invoice on to carry over to the new year. So I try to work tremendously hard during the summer so that I can carry over what I would be doing in January and February. And then of course, then it kind of picks back up again. You got to get back in the routine thing. So first quarter is hard for me. Second quarter, I do October, November, and the first 2 weeks of December is cool. But for those of you, if you know what your seasons are, then you kind of plan accordingly. And if you've been in business for a couple of years, you should know what your peaks and your valleys are. Yeah, but it can be kind of tough. So this
I always have my little thing, man, for my entrepreneurs. I have to sing this little song to them. Assets over liabilities, can't you see?
Business is done reggae style, man.
I'm
Reggae
telling
style.
That's the liabilities, can't you see? Crystal Mitchell's here to help you with your money. Krista. Whoa, Krista.
So
She is a
speaking on
bookkeeping genius.
yeah, speaking on that note, which is absolutely it is actually pretty cool, right? I had consulted with a young man that's in the Urban League program. We kicked off this Monday. We kicked off the Intuit's Idea program last year.
Yeah.
Last cohort, we had 25
Oh,
participants.
25. That's a good number.
25. Well, this go around, we got 50.
Woo wee.
50.
That's too many.
Yeah, 50. So they're bringing on more advisors, more consultants. But one of the young men one of the businesses that was also in the MBDA program, he'd been trying to reach me, and so I finally scheduled an appointment with him, and we were saying, entrepreneurs have, they have like their vision, right? So the vision doesn't necessarily mean that it's a feasible vision. It's just a vision, right? It's all glossy and pretty, and it sounds great to talk about. But then here I come and like, okay, what's the numbers? how many people how many units you gotta service every month to get to whatever your monthly nut is? And you're like, what?
It's like those little kids, they come up with these great, fabulous ideas, but now they don't have a plan to work it, to get there. So yeah.
Right. No plan to get there. So I had to go there. But at the end, he did embrace it. He's going to be incredibly coachable. And so we were going through, and so he goes, oh my God, this has just been like the best session I've ever had. And he says, I'm going to go to the beach right now, and I'm going to meditate on everything that you said. And then, so that was that part, right? I was like, well, that's good. I'm glad it was well received. Looking forward to working with you. So yesterday I get a text and from another friend of mine's, and she was first I didn't even quite get it, but I think she's actually on right now. So because I think she reached out to me earlier, and because we've been playing phone tag.
Oh, so she's watching the show?
She told me she was going to jump on the show. I told her I was getting ready to broadcast, but she sent me a text because someone in her network was trying to reach me and couldn't find my phone number. So here's the text. So they sent it to her, and then she sent it to me, right? So it was like this whole channel of things that were happening based upon this coaching session that I had. So, Gilbert, you're always saying we're super coaches. I guess this is a validation that we are a super coach, because it came in with she was telling me how she was sending it to me, and then the person that sent it to me said, with all that said, I'm an associate of and then the client, and he called me today at 8 a.m. Now that's early. I hope he ain't gonna ever call me at 8 a.m. but 8 a.m. and went on and on about your ability to help him navigate the business waters. He also mentioned just being short of crying because of your tender business care and acumen.
Oh, that is so wonderful.
Isn't that nice?
He brought tears to the ragamuffin eyes.
I brought tears to his eyes. So I'm like, okay, I guess I am a super coach.
That's it, man. See, that's the difference between a super coach and a regular basic coach, because you touch people, you make them cry.
Right. And he kind of pre-warned me. He says, so I'm gonna go tell everybody about this session. I'm like, whoa. But it was an honor, so I'm gonna look forward to that. So that was one of my highlights for the week, man.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I like that co-host. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. So did you get a vehicle, man?
Oh man, I finally got my vehicle, man. I'm telling you. It was a joy. I got to give these guys credit, man. I got to give a shout out to them. I did tell them I was going to shout them out. This is the Galloping Honda up in Mission Hills,
Okay.
near Chatsworth.
Okay.
And these guys were good to me. And the owner came out and spoke to me, which is kind of what I was looking for. At that other dealership, the scam one, Sunrise Ford. And I'm going to say their name over and over until they change their bad behavior and their scamming ways. Sunrise Ford, scammers. We got to do a show to inform the public and small businesses some of the things that some of these car dealerships do to scam you. I have all the paperwork, guys. I have all the receipts here. I can prove it. I'm not just talking smack. I can prove it. These guys are scammers. They try to charge you for stuff that they're not supposed to charge you for.
Right, because they think that you're coming in and possibly don't know anything about cars. You're a man and you got it. Just imagine being a female and going to buy a car. It's brutal, man. It's brutal.
Yeah, and, when they figure out they couldn't manhandle me, or I should say car dealership handle me.
Right. And like I said, I don't care how long you could go in with cash in hand and it's still going to take you 20 hours to buy a car. I just don't understand that formula.
Luckily,
valuable.
Luckily for me, man, this transaction at Mission Hills, it only took me 3 hours.
Oh, wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. I bought a car through Galpin. I don't know if it was that one. It was in the Valley, though. I don't care where it was.
So, because they have Galpin Ford and they have Galpin Honda.
Yeah, this was a Galpin Ford because I had bought a Explorer. In fact, that's where I bought my Explorer. Yeah. And you know what, Gilbert? You know what? Remember I was telling you the story? Well, guys, we will get to the show in a minute, but remember I was telling you a story that I had bought I felt coerced to buy my first Explorer when I was buying my Explorer, and then I got the 2-door versus the 4-door. Yeah. And I was just it didn't sit right with me and I took it back. Yeah. You know who the dealership was? Sunrise.
Sunrise?
No, it was a Sunrise, but out in the Valley.
Those guys were criminals.
Yeah, now that you said that, that's who that was. They were out in the Valley, but I ended up getting it at Galpin, and I got the 4-door, the candy, and it was candy apple red for a Ford Explorer, and I was skiing at that time, so and it was a manual stick, and that's what I was looking for because I wanted the control on the mountain. Right. And it was Sunrise that it coerced me to get a car that I didn't want, and then I took it back within that 48 hours. The lemon law.
Oh man! And then they were trying to act like they couldn't take it back because of the law, right?
No, they took it back because that's what the law was. In fact, the law had just been put in place like the year before or something. Yeah. The lemon law or whatever it was called, but whatever it is, you have 48 hours to make up your mind to whether or not you wanted to sit with what you bought. And so, yeah, that's right.
Guys, we're sorry that we're taking up all of your time talking about this, but it needs to be put out there. Part of what we do here on the Business Zone, guys, we are an advocacy group. So we advocate for you, the small business, the consumer / small business, because no one else is out there to do that for you. No one understands certain things that we do that's out there to help you guys. And some of these car dealerships, they throw in some little bogus laws and they tell you, well, because of the Patriot Act, we got to do this. They're trying to get me to sign some paperwork that will allow them to sell my social security number, my employment history information, my credit information.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yes, that's what's on the form. And they wanted me to sign to agree that they can sell this and use it for marketing and whatever. I say, heck no. He said, well, because of the Patriot Act in 2001, 9/11, we had to do. I said, no, it's not. So then I asked the other dealership, I said, is it true that some bogus Patriot Act said this is, the guy said, no, they were scamming me. And then on top of that, He's charging me extra for a low jack on a used car, low jack. And
Oh
here,
wow. Yeah,
and
you
here
shouldn't
this,
have to pay that. That's a choice. That's not something mandatory.
yeah, but hear this again. LoJack went out of business many years ago, so there's no LoJack to be sold. So they
Yeah.
were lying, man. They were lying. They were
Oh
lying.
wow, wow,
And
wow. Yeah, yeah.
on top of that, let's say LoJack was in business, right? When you sell a brand new car, then that's when you sell that LoJack feature on the brand new car. You can't sell a service twice. You can't sell it on a new car and then sell it on a used car because the first owner already paid for that. You see what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy.
These
That's super
guys,
crazy.
man,
Yeah.
Sunrise Ford guys, they're criminals. So I need to take a picture of their salesman and put it on our website so everybody knows. Stay away from these guys. They're criminals.
I think the show that we should do because it all comes down to customer service, and it comes down to what type of service you're selling, what type of salesperson are you.
Yeah.
That should be the show. So we're gonna come up with that show maybe in November when we're getting close to Black Friday.
Oh yeah.
For the holidays, we'll have
Yeah.
that show.
We gotta do that, man. We gotta
Yeah.
let our good, hardworking consumers and entrepreneurs stay away from scammers, because not only do they scam you and force you to pay for stuff that you don't need to, but then they take your information and sell it.
Right, exactly. So we don't want to do that. And on top of that, even in our own businesses, we want to learn from those type of examples, right?
Yeah.
What kind of business are you running? Are you wanting people to question your integrity and
Yeah.
morality, or do you want it on display when they first meet you, right? For me, it's first impressions are lasting impressions. So as a business
Right.
owner, that's what you should be striving for. First, good impressions, and that your customers can trust you. And unfortunately, that business is there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. But I
Yeah.
am so happy that you got your
Oh
vehicle.
man, I got my car. I think it was on Monday I got it, man.
Oh,
That
that is
baby was fine. I love her.
oh, good. Gilbert and I spent Saturday evening together, trying to get this vehicle and trying to eat in Rancho Cucamonga. All of it was an experience.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it was crazy.
So I'm going to make a little announcement, Gilbert. We hit 1,600 subscribers on September 20th.
All right.
And so we hit a milestone, and then we hit another milestone. I'm not quite sure what this milestone means, but we hit another milestone where we got 40,000. I guess it's an accumulation, and it accumulated to 40,000 views milestone. So we are moving on up.
As
man. George
Brandon and everyone else who was on the show, Andrea.
Oh yeah, Brandon. Everybody. So as George Jefferson said, we're moving on up, up to the big time.
That's right, baby. Like I keep saying, assets over liabilities, can't you see?
Right, exactly. So with that, but I had a good week other than that. Now, obviously, you had a phenomenal week.
Oh, man, that was great. But
today,
before we switch over, I want to say this. You ever heard of this app on the dating scene, right? Those digital dating. It's called Are We Dating the Same Guy? You ever hear of it?
No, I have not read that. I have not seen that one.
There's an app out there that these women have, right? Where they one might be dating a dude and they're not really sure about this guy. So they put him on Facebook and say, hey, are we dating the same guy? And then all the women
oh wow,
look at his picture. Like, yeah, I remember I went on a date with him 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow,
that's what we got to do with those scam car dealership, man.
Years and years ago. So I love that concept though, because that means they had addressed that there was a pain point in the marketplace, and they satisfied it, right? So before I actually launched my dating service way back there in the back in prehistoric days, that was. We were going it wasn't a website and it wasn't an app, because this was this is at the very beginning of the digital age, the computers in homes. Computers were in offices, but they were not in homes.
Yeah.
And we were going to have a phone service called 1-800-dial-a-jerk.
Oh.
And in that, you could report possibly that two women were dating the same guy, but the guy was just a jerk. And he was being maintained in the database. We never did it because we went the other direction instead. But that was a business idea. Another pain point in the marketplace.
I love it, man. And guess what? They couldn't. Well, they could try to sue you, but they couldn't win because they couldn't sue you for slander or anything. Because it's true, you guys have receipts.
Right, and it wouldn't be us; it would be somebody that they dated. Would be dropping a dime. It would. I think it would fall under the Whistleblower Act.
That's what we got to do for these cars, the scamming car dealerships, man. You know, are we being scammed by the same dealership?
Right.
Have you been business name up there and pictures of the owners and the sales reps, man?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. All business, guys. This is all business. This is what Gilbert and I do. Obviously, we have fun at doing what we do. We hope you have fun doing what you do.
It's all about business, baby.
All about business. So this was this week has been kind of crazy. The news has been wacky with what's going on in the political world, and we just want to encourage everyone to go out and vote. We want you to really understand what you're voting for. So there are a number of organizations that are doing, and at the end of the show, I'll put up some flyers that are really doing some discussion topics on ballots and measures and ballot measures and propositions and who the judges are and school board and city council candidates and electoral. They're having some really in-depth conversations. So check out Facebook. I will put some flyers up on my social media, on the Business Zone social media. Check it out. The more informed you are, the better decisions you make. Because if you've been watching the news, it's been like the wild, wild west all this week. Right. We done gone from cat ladies without babies to being insignificant. That if you didn't have children, you're insignificant. And you shouldn't be anywhere near governmental offices, nor should you be anywhere near kids, to Haitians eating dogs and cats.
Oh, Lord.
It's just been like the gamut. This morning, I heard the North Carolina guy, his name is Robert Smith, I think. He's running for lieutenant governor for North Carolina. He's a black man. He indicated that and this kind of fits into our show today. He indicates that he is all for reactivating slavery. Whoa, and he also is against reparations. He said we should be paying reparations for having free housing and job skill training. So this has been a wild week for craziness and from the GOP. But on the other side, last night I saw there was, and you guys can go over to YouTube. Oprah was having a conversation with Kamala. It was awesome, just awesome. If you guys didn't catch it, it's called United America. It's with Oprah Winfrey. Produced it, and it's on YouTube. Phenomenal.
How long was it?
An hour and 48 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And it was streaming live. It was kind of like a town hall setting. Yeah. They had a round setting. They were in Detroit. Yeah. And so they had people in. They had people that had a young lady that had just been part of the shooting at the Appalachia High School. And then they had another young lady who had been molested by her stepfather when she was 12 and got pregnant, and it was talking about Roe versus Wade. Then we had the mother of the two young ladies that died trying to get abortions in Alabama. So Kamala is up and moving. And then that other one over there, he is just ready to throw everybody to the wolves. He gonna put everybody in jail. He losing his cookies, his cookies. So with all that being said, voting is paramount to us, and this is you're not voting for a candidate, you're voting for your own democracy. So we'll talk about that a little later on. But it's been a wild week, and then this morning, all in the political world, I went to the swearing in of Marquise Harris, Dawson Harris, Harris Dawson Harris, yeah, Harris Dawson Harris Dawson. He's being sworn in as the Los Angeles City Council president. I actually learned quite a bit about him today because he's usually, I have not really heard him do any speaking, but what was have you ever been to an LA City Council open council meeting?
No.
There's some bizarre stuff that happens up in there.
I hear about that.
I came in, the session was already in session. There was somebody with puppets on their hands talking in weird voices and complaining about stuff. Somebody said this man said he owned a Sloss and Swap meet in 1977. He had to give it up to his wife in a divorce, and now he wants it back. What? In 1977,
so why is he coming to the city council with that? Shouldn't he be in court trying to fight a civil case against the wife? That is crazy.
If you guys get a chance, go to a city council meeting. That was wild and crazy. And then they swore Marquise in, and it was awesome. He had a chamber full of people, his peers, everyone, the 14 council people or 13 council people, they all stood up and had wonderful things to say about him. So that was awesome. That was pretty cool. Things that he's dedicated to. So of course, the pillars in Los Angeles is homelessness and affordable housing. So those are the two pillars that he will be working on. So we'll see what that looks like. But at least being at the table helps you work with something, can help them be accountable.
Right.
Like you can't be accountable if you're not sitting at the table. So that's why I went.
Right.
So that was that. So.
Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting day and week for you, co-host.
Brandon says, I was a part of it, got the beautification down, Western and bunch of other stuff. Oh, you were at one of those meetings, Brandon. Well, good for you because you need to be there. But man, I've seen I saw some interesting things today. I'm like, what's happening here?
What's happening?
Right. But I guess they have the people get to speak, and the people get to make people accountable. And the place you do that is at the LA City, in the city of Los Angeles. You go to the city council meeting. I assume you do the same thing in Culver City. You do the same thing in Orange County. And
there is a city, I'll call it a town. There's a town, I don't remember what state it is, but there's this black mayor there, a female, that she's just running ragged. She's using the city's money like, I don't know like it's free royalty she's getting. She wears the most fancy clothes, the brand name, Louis Vuitton, whatever. And, she drives, they have to chauffeur drive her everywhere she's going.
Oh, wow. Well, I heard this morning, I was reading this guy that actually helped Trump take a true social public.
Oh,
this
really?
Man has raked up over $5 million. He's extorted $5 million from his investment bank.
From Trump's bank?
No, from the bank. He was the CEO of this investment bank, and he has a gambling problem, and he just went. Folks are out of control. Let me just put it that way. People out of control right now.
Oh man, this is crazy.
Money has corrupted the evil, or evil of the money. I don't know what it is, but the money has corrupted them in their moralities.
That is crazy.
Okay, so today we got a great conversation, another great conversation in lieu of Project 2025 and the damage that it's going to do to minority businesses, to minorities, period. We're focusing, last week we focused on marketing to the Hispanic population. We're also a marketplace. We're also going to talk about how Project 25 affects them. But today we're talking about Project 25. But more or less, we're talking about the unstoppable rise of Black entrepreneurs and innovators. You know, generally this is a conversation Gilbert and I have, and this is one of his favorite conversations next to Marcus Garvey.
Because we have so many unsung heroes, man.
And all of the things that we brought to this country, we are the American history. And so if anyone tells you differently, they're delusional. But we felt that we wanted to really spotlight the entrepreneurs and innovators who really helped shape our American economy as we know it today. And so we're going to talk about, explore that world of who those entrepreneurs are. And then we're going to discuss the challenges of being Black and owning Black businesses. But first of all, we're going to share with you a video because one of the issues with Project 2025 is, you know, they want to deport all of the immigrants, and I'm not quite sure what that means, but that's what they want to do. But the other side of that is they want to really just make Black folks just disappear, like we weren't ever even here, or we remain in the capacity of how we got here, right? So we can't deport us anywhere because we've been picked up all over the world. we came in on the transatlantic slave trade, so you would have to figure out which country in Africa we had to go back to. So basically, they're stuck with us. But here's a little fantasy that Gilbert and I had, and I found a video, so I'm going to share that with you. What if, and this is a what if, and I want you guys to put this in the chat. What if we didn't exist? What if we never appeared on the shores of America? What would America look like without the influences of the slave, the Black man,
the
melanated man? And so we're going to share that, and then that's going to help us kick off our show today. What would that look like if we had not done if we had not been part of this America commerce? So let me show this screen over here. I just love this new setup, Gilbert, because I can actually set it up before I even get over here. So if you guys are ready, check this out. Let me see I don't know why things are not happening here. What happened here? What's happening?
Big props to you, Brandon Floyd. Big props for you joining us again today. And I'm sure you've subscribed to our YouTube channel. You've told your uncle, your aunt, your grandmother, your mother, everybody to subscribe, right?
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing that screen. That's what the problem is. I gotta go over here. Okay, so what if there was a world without Black history, which means this would be a world without the innovations of the entrepreneurs that really shape the economy in America. So here we go.
Well, that means we stayed in Africa, right? We didn't.
Yeah, leave. We didn't come here. We didn't come here at all. We stayed, and we built what we're doing.
Stayed in the motherland.
We stayed in the motherland, and all of the things that we created here in America, we did that in the motherland. So here we go.
during Black History Month? Why do I only get a day when they get an entire month?
You're so smart, babe.
You know what we really need? We need a White History Month.
Did someone say that there should be a White History Month?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Let me guess, you're not racist or anything, but you just think it'd be better if we didn't have a Black History Month in America at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ugh, let's get this over with.
And then Chadwick wins cribbage.
It's Mandy and I. Why are we dressed so lame? And what are those stupid ass shoes? Why is everything so different?
Well, you see, Chad, without Black inventors, our world would have missed out on huge advancements in cell phone technology, gaming consoles, and personal computers. Not to mention important shoemaking techniques, light bulbs that last more than a few days, and delicious, delicious potato chips. A world without Black history is completely different.
Yeah, but all that stuff would have gotten invented anyway.
If all inventions are inevitable, then why celebrate any inventors, Chad?
Wait, where's Grandpa? Grandpa's dead?
Yes. Not only did a Black engineer help invent the pacemaker, but the first successful open heart surgery was done by a Black surgeon, so... But Black history is not just about technology. So, what do you feel like listening to? Classical, Irish step dancing, polka music, an entire crooner station, more classical.
Okay, I see what you're doing here, and just put on Elvis and I'll be good.
Elvis who?
Fine, I walked right into that. Kenny Chesney or something.
Ooh, sorry, dude. Country music has its roots in Black R&B, which means a world without Black history is a world without country music.
No! This place is lame. Where are we?
Times Square, Midtown Manhattan. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, right. There's more like some boring ass town and some shitty little country or some shit.
Pretty much. Not only was most of early New York City built by African slaves, but without Black slaves, the South never developed its labor-intensive cotton and tobacco plantations.
What?
Which means that the North never developed its financial sector or heavy industries meant to support that very same lucrative cotton industry.
What?
It's entirely possible that without the contributions of Black Americans, we wouldn't have the money to have made the Louisiana Purchase from France.
What?
The land deal that expanded America's borders and catapulted it into being one of the world's leading food producers, as well as a global leader.
Wait, so you're saying that without Black people, most of this country is owned by France?
It's entirely possible.
No! No! Take me back! I want to go back! I want to go back! What month is it?
February.
Specifically!
Black History Month?
Oh, thank God. Happy Black History Month, Grandpa. Happy Black History Month potato chip. Happy Black History Month cell phone. Happy Black History Month hip hop and streetwear apparel. God bless Black History Month.
Black History Month? You just said there should be a White History rule. Okay.
I'm woke now.
Oh, Lord.
Beautiful, huh?
This is amazing, man. They should do another video. This one will be, oh, okay, they won the election, but where do they go? Where's the White House? There's no White House. It was built by the Blacks.
Right. So that is the oh, wait a minute. I don't know what's happening over here. That is the kickoff for oh man, all of those are popping up. Let me
Black
see.
entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna take all of that off. Let's do this one because this is really where I want us to go. There we go. So we're gonna kick off our show now and go right on into what we are talking about, the unstoppable rise of Black entrepreneurs, innovators that helped shape America's Brandon says language, music, rhythm. They say Sumerian gods were Black. It's just like, you can't get away from us, dude. You can't get away from us, right? So that's what we're doing. We're spotlighting the Black entrepreneurs and innovators that have shaped America, the American economy as we know it today. So that video kind of encapsulated it in a nutshell, right? Without us, there's a whole, they could have invented it at some point, but we don't know if they would or not. But there are certain things that took place that that really highlighted Black people and the significance of the movement post-slavery. So one of the things we do know that when we were slaves, our ancestors, Gilbert and our ancestors were slaves. We did all the work. We did all of the labor. we cleaned homes, we worked
Never
in
got paid
fields,
for
and we did this for free. Just imagine, guys, as business owners out there, what would business be like if you did not have to pay for labor?
it. Mm-mm.
You could hire and have as many people working for you and not have to pay them a dime. So that right there is a leg up in this country. They actually created these very successful businesses because they had free labor. And then the free labor was these individuals that were making really their lives easier by inventing and changing and adapting tools that they had to use in order to facilitate their free job. And if they didn't do that job, then they were beaten and tortured and all kinds of stuff. So they had major incentive. That is what I call, Gilbert, the biggest solving of a pain point there ever was.
The biggest. And I'm just here thinking and wondering, what do you think it would cost if you were to construct and build a building like the White House today? How much do you think that would cost?
Oh, that would be millions and millions of dollars. The White House today and all hundreds of millions. I mean, right now, I guess they say to build a home is somewhere upwards of it starts with $800,000, right? That with legal fees and all that sort of stuff. So the White House is massive, and it's actually not just massive. It is probably, with a lot of the plantations as well, it is extremely well built.
The White House sits on a large piece of land there. It covers several blocks. Okay. So I am just saying, imagine having to build that today. Back then, they used slaves to build it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They build it, and it's got all these little secret compartments, hideaway. Brandon said 3D print it, all of that. getting the architects to go in and make sure it's in order. All of that, man, hundreds of millions, just for that structure right there. And that's just one. We're not even talking about the state houses. Every state has a main house, right? Like the White House, they have one.
Yeah.
That's where the governors live, right?
Yeah.
Those were built by blacks.
Yes.
Those were built by blacks.
They were.
Can you imagine, man? Can you imagine? So they didn't have us. If they didn't have us to do that, then it would cost them, billions of dollars to do that.
Yeah, it would be billions of dollars. The White House would probably be valued, and I don't know what that would have been in that time, but in the 1800s, the White House would probably be one of the most expensive palaces on the planet, actually.
Yeah.
If that was the case, because of the way, and the same thing with the Washington Monument and all the other things that Washington, D.C., period, was built by slaves. And so,
and then labor. the prisons, not to mention those, right? Unbelievable, man. So, just like this guy was saying, what's up with this Black History Month? I wish it would go away. Well, now he's beginning to see some of the things that would go away with it. If you didn't have the blacks to do those things, if you didn't have the blacks to build the prisons, who would be building those?
Exactly. And so when we talk about the political climate today, and it's saying we want to make America great again, and we want to go back to 1800, then you're eliminating everything that America, the whole entire economy.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go back there, unless they're saying, let's go back there so we can go back and get that free labor.
Yeah. and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Here's another fun fact that many Americans do not know.
What's that?
There was a man by the name of Granville Woods.
Mm-hmm.
One of our forefathers, right? This
Mm-hmm.
man was a scientist. He was a physicist.
Mm-hmm.
That's the person who was responsible for an alert signal, a device that was designed so that the trains could be alerted about the whereabouts of other trains on the train tracks. Not to mention that the blacks built the train tracks, right? But they also were killing each other, crashing into each other because they didn't have a system to alert each other, if there's a train coming or not. So, lots of people died back then. So
Yes.
Mr. Granville Woods, a black scientist, decided to develop that device, and he invented it, but he couldn't patent it. So guess who stole his device? Thomas Edison.
Right, exactly.
Criminal.
Right. But because there were many factors going on, obviously. Black people weren't considered, they were considered property. Yeah, right. They were considered property. They also were not citizens of the United States. And they had to prove that it was their original design. And most of them could not read or write. Yes. So that there was no way that they were able to document business plan. There was no way they had to do that. So of course they were the property of their masters, the plantation owner. So therefore the plantation owner was the one that acquired the patent. But here's some information about those. So in addition to Gavin, over 300 years of African American inventions took place in this country. Agricultural improvements due directly to involvement in farming. Many slaves developed methods to improve cotton harvesting and processing, like the efficient cotton scraper invented by a slave named Ned, the cotton gin. All of these were invented by men who were actually out toiling in the hot sun for probably 22 hours in the hot sun with minimum food, no clothes, no shoes, no nothing, toiling for free. And so they realized, hey, I gotta create tools that is going to make that better. Now let's fast forward to 2020, 24. Right now, there is a big thing about African American farmers. So the farming system in America is well controlled by the government. My cousin actually works for the Department of Agriculture, and to prevent slavery, every farm has to go through the Department of Agriculture and declare how many workers they're going to hire based upon what they're growing, and the Department of Agriculture makes that decision on how many employees they need to have, how they need to work, what the bathroom breaks, food breaks. They have to. My cousin was telling me that if they're migrant workers, so this is, folks, black jobs, Mexican, brown jobs that we've been hearing of late. So if they have to make sure there's transportation to and from the housing that they have to provide for them. So if you're bringing migrant workers in to work for your farm, there is a whole litany of requirements that you have to have in order to have workers on your to harvest your plants, and you have to do it early enough. And my cousin says they have to go back and this is reassessed every planting season, every harvest season.
And sometimes they really don't know what they're going to need because of certain interruption to their work and production process, whether it's by tornadoes, rain, flood, storms. Those things come through, and it destroys the land. So now you need more labor. They don't really know exactly how many they're going to need. So they make an estimate. And if that estimate is incorrect, then the government don't want to reapprove additional work.
Exactly. And so this all costs, this means that farmers spend a lot of money. So again, the early farmers in America, especially in the South, in the red states, were who? Black slaves, right? So the Black Farmers Discrimination Litigation Settlement resolved claims that the United States Department of Agriculture discriminated against African American farmers in its farm loan program. The settlement resulted in the USDA providing $2 billion in financial aid to farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners who reported discrimination in the USDA farm lending prior to 2021. So that's some of the things we are talking about, is the challenges even today, after what we contributed to the American economy. America wouldn't even be here. It wouldn't be a developed land if the slaves hadn't broken their backs, our ancestors, in doing that. And here, in 300 years later, they're still fighting a fight.
There is a video, co-host, that I'm gonna send you. I saw it on YouTube a few nights ago. Man, if you're not strong, watching that video will make you bawl like a baby. So there's a professor, I don't remember what university she's from, but there's a professor who did some research on Blacks, their contributions to this country. And this is even before the emancipation, And they told you about how horrible Thomas Edison was.
Really?
Jefferson,
yeah, because they scapegoated, man, and it was all invented by somebody else, and they took all the credit, and all the history books are about them. But what about the person that actually created the light?
Not only that, though, Thomas Jefferson declared that Blacks were not human. So they used to do a lot of tests, like on the babies, little Black babies. They have these two tools that look like an ice pick shape in an L, and they would penetrate the skull of the little babies. I'm talking 4-month-old babies, right? They'll force that thing in the skull of the baby to test the pain tolerance. And it would kill them. It would kill many of the Black babies, and they're
right, because you're torturing them.
Yes, and that's what they did, man. And she was speaking this in a room full of mostly white folks. Man, some of the women in there were just bawling their eyes out because they couldn't believe that those things actually happened. And then the guys were like, real stone-faced, and some of them couldn't believe, and some of them in their minds like, why is she bringing this up now?
Right, because again, we're back to Project 25, right? Yeah. Eliminating our history. You don't want to hear about this stuff right here. They want us to disappear from the history books, because as that guy said at the end, now I'm woke. No, they don't want you to be woke, right? But it is our job to make sure that you are woke, that you understand how the American economy was built. So when we talk about reparations, there's a reason why we're talking about reparations. We're owed it for free labor. Some of the other things that we did, Gilbert, was tool adaptation and modification. Slaves often adapted existing tools to better suit their needs, modifying hoes and plows to work more efficiently in the field. They were using their expertise. It's like you and I. We have our expertise. We get paid for our expertise, right? And so when we develop tools like Small Biz Pro or I do whatever I do with the figures, it's because we've developed the methodology that works, and it helps to make our business owners more efficient, right? And so that's what our ancestors were doing. Did they get paid for that? No, they didn't get paid for that adaptation. Every time, now Gilbert, you know this because you've trademarked and patented your product, right?
Yeah.
Every time if you make modifications, even if it's a tool out there or develop your own tool, you have to go out and um um you actually have to go out and find something that's going to make it work for you better because you're toiling for 16 to 18 hours a day.
Yes.
So that makes a difference. So
it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So
I just put the link to that black professor was talking about it in the chat right there.
Okay, I'm going to take a listen to that.
So Brandon, if you want to get a copy, just copy this from the chat also. You'll be surprised, man, what horrible things went on. Go ahead, Coho.
Yeah, right, exactly. The horrible things, and it wasn't just babies. Remember when I went to Savannah recently, and the swamplands and the alligators that I must have seen 50 of them in this swamp.
Yeah,
that's a non-working plantation, but imagine when it was working, and they'd send the baby boys down in that water in order to plant the rice. And most of them didn't live more than 6 months doing that. Right. So it was dangerous for them. But they had boat building skills. They had knowledge they actually were, even with their limited education, enslaved people shared knowledge and techniques through oral traditions, passing it down valuable innovations across generations. And I don't know about you, Gilbert, but I know my grandmother, when I was growing up, there were certain things that she learned just innately from growing up with her parents. And she actually lived on a plantation. And I'm sure in Jamaica, there's some major innovations that went on there, just in being able to survive your daily lives, right?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Right. The things. And then we know one of the things I find absolutely interesting is the foods. Like you talk about the sweet potato pudding, but we did sweet potato. We do ours in cubes, and for Thanksgiving, there's a lot of things that we eat that came from the motherland.
Yes.
And the ancestors brought it there. So even if they weren't allowed, which was against the law for them to be formally educated, that the tradition of passing down skill sets and information and knowledge came through ancestors to ancestors, even in the situations that they were in. But they did all kinds of modifications, came up with all kinds of Gilbert, if you go down to the very bottom, you can all, like you said, Gavin, all of the things that they had to they were doing as a job, right? They then took those and created businesses when they actually were emancipated. When they actually got their freedom, they then were able to create businesses from all of that work that they did. But there's so many things, if we look at the world today, that was invented by the Black man and woman, that would not be here, or maybe they would, I don't know. But
well, some of it could have been, but later it would come into existence much later. Because as you know, many of the inventions were created to make life easier. Well, I wouldn't say easier, but to make life more bearable for African Americans who had to, work slave in the fields and all of that. And they weren't even being paid. And that's another thing that this professor was talking about, that, a lot of the blacks were, they were happy that slavery was abolished. But after that, they realized that it was no better than being a slave, because what they did, the plantation owners, they would have the blacks do work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, well, you still owe us this, because if you want a place to stay, a place to live, it's going to cost you this, and you don't have a job, so you're going to have to work for us. So that's where the sharecropping came in.
Sharecropping and Jim Crow laws, when they were which was replacing, which replaced the slave. Let's look at the timeline. I guess we'll take a turn. So the timeline. So all of that being said, here we have slaves or freed slaves that had been trained as blacksmiths and wagon builders and bricklayers and masons and stonemasters and carpenters and you name it. Anything that they had to touch when they were working for free. Now they had that skill set, and that skill set is what they use to go on this entrepreneurial journey. So start in 1693 to 1863, free and enslaved African Americans started businesses and professions such as tobacconists, shoemakers, carpenters, barbers, everything that we just called out that they did for free labor. Now they had that skill set, and now they were able to create jobs. Each one of us have some sort of skill set, whatever that is. And I usually tell people, if you learn something at a job and you leave that job, the only thing you're leaving is the car key and the parking pass and the key to the building. Other than that, you get to take all those skills with you, and you can be as innovative as our ancestors.
Right.
Okay, the next one's on you, Gilbert.
Oh, I was just so busy listening to you, man. You're doing such a great job.
All righty. So in 1863 and 1877, after emancipation, which is what you were talking about in the start of the Reconstruction era, saw the emergence of Black-owned businesses, including insurance companies and undertakers and bankers, and even there were some real estate agents. There were some investment bankers. A woman, Maggie, I think her name is Maggie Banks. She actually was, she actually was an investment banker.
And see, that was very pertinent then, because blacks weren't even eligible to go to the white banks, so they had to go to each other and say, borrow some money and then pay them back. So that's how that came into being, and kind of sustained itself.
Right. And and here again, we're in two separate continents, and we use the bartering system. What do you call it in Jamaica?
Partner.
So you're doing an exchange for something tangible, for something else tangible, right? When you didn't have any money,
right?
Yeah,
they had that, and they also had what they call a swap shop. A swap shop is you take your products to a marketplace and you swap it with somebody else. Okay, I'll give you a chair if you give me a rug, or something.
Right, exactly. In America, they did that as well because they didn't have a lot of money. And so, they very innovative, man. When people don't have what they have and they have forced to take care of themselves, they are really, really innovative.
When times are scarce, man, that's when people when resources are scarce, that's when people come up with great inventions, man. And that's why most of the inventions you see out there were done by the blacks, because they went through such horrible times that they had to survive. And in order to survive, they had to invent things that will sustain them and keep them going.
Exactly.
Well, I'm gonna take the other two sections since I missed my section before.
Okay, all right.
So we have the 1900s to the 1930s, and this is what they call the golden age of black-owned businesses. You have the Jim Crow laws created more segregation, but also an opportunity for entrepreneurship. That's where Black Wall Street was established in Tulsa or Greenwood, Oklahoma. Now they talk about Black Wall Street, but that was a time when not only Black Wall Street was thriving, but that's when Marcus Garvey launched his world tour to start entrepreneurship in Black communities, galvanize Blacks, and also get them to understand how to build their resources and trade with each other. And then that's when you see other countries like Angola, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, all of them were just like you just mentioned earlier about the swap shop and the trading and the bartering and all of those things. They were doing that at the time at the encouragement of Marcus Garvey. Just so you know, guys, those of you who are listening and just wondering, you're on the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. We're on every Friday from 3 to 4:30. And today we're talking about the innovation and the seismic growth and influence of Black entrepreneurs in this country. So now, Marcus Garvey, he was Jamaican, just so you guys know that. He was
That's Gilbert's what you call it? That's your guru. That's your great uncle.
My great uncle. So while he was traveling the world, and he did an amazing evolution in New York. You remember he filled this stadium like facility with over 3,500. He started out with like 10 and 20 and then 100, 300. Then he went up to like 6,000 people coming to meet with him to talk about inventions and growing and economic development and sustainability. And that was just amazing. But let's go back a little bit to Black Wall Street, right? Black Wall Street was developed by those leftover, I'll say leftover slaves, right? Back in the 1865s, they decided, hey, we want a better life for our family. We're not going to be oppressed anymore. This sharecropping stuff is not working for us because we're just working for the man. We're still not being paid because we're sharecropping. You work for housing. So they say, okay, you want a house? And these were the little old slave huts that the slaves used to live in. But the masses say, hey, now you got to pay rent for this. So the leftover slaves, they had to work for their keep. And that's what was going on. So these other, adventurous Black folks said, we're not doing that. We're going to move. We're going to another region. So that's how they migrated to Oklahoma. And they galvanized their skills and resources. And remember, you mentioned that lady who started the first Black bank. Well, you had folks like her and others who said, okay, I'll lend you some money to help build your practice, help you some money to help build your store. And so they started in Oklahoma, and that was the emergence and the birth of Black Wall Street. That's why they call it Black Wall Street, because it was a wealthy community. Blacks were doing business with Blacks only, and then when the whites saw that, they're going, wait a second, these dudes are supposed to be slaves. What are they doing being so rich, driving fancy, luxurious cars?
How dare they? How dare they become sustainable and self-reliant?
And some of these guys, they had planes, they just like the NBA players, they got their own private jet. The slaves, the ex-slaves, man, they had their own jet. They didn't need to lean on the man. So the man said, wait a second, we don't have a jet. How come they got a jet? So they decided to bomb the area. Excuse me. They decided to bomb the area, man, kill more than 3,000 Blacks, and just by starting a lie, because they tried to get the government to stop them, but the government really didn't have the right to do so. So the little rebel, the vigilante,
right?
Said, oh man, let's go burn those buildings down. All the Blacks, they're acting like they're rich and they're uppity. So let's take care of it. So one of them started a rumor. He was going in an elevator, and I guess there's a white girl in there, and
the usual,
right? They said, oh, that Black man just raped my daughter, which wasn't true. It was a lie. you know, and that's something they made up just because they wanted to start a war. So anyway, that's what they did. Started a war, burned down all the black towns in the area, the businesses, everything. Some of the blacks couldn't escape because they want to jump in their jet and fly away, but they couldn't, you know. So it was awful, man. It was awful. That's all of the Jim Crow laws and, you know, those types of things. So that's the 1900s to a 1930s.
Let me add a little bit to this part of it, Gilbert. So O.W. Gurley, he actually was the guy that actually encouraged people to come to Oklahoma. So he worked. He was the child of former slaves, and he grew up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. After attending public school, self-educating, he worked as a teacher and in the post office. While living in Pine Bluff, Gurley married his wife in November 1889. They had no children. So in 1893, he came to Oklahoma Territory to participate in the land run of 1893, staking a claim in what would be known as Perry, Oklahoma. The young entrepreneur had just resigned from an appointment under President Grover Cleveland in order to strike out on his own. So he actually came to Oklahoma. He bought 40 acres of land, and he sold his store, landed in Perry, moved his wife to an oil boom. That was what was going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time, where he purchased the 40 acres of land, which was only to be sold to colored people. And the first law passed in the new state of Oklahoma 33 days after statehood, set in a place of a Jim Crow system of legally enforcing segregation and requiring blacks and whites to live in separate areas. However, Oklahoma was considered a significant economic and social opportunity by Gurley and others, some other politicians, and it became the leading establishment of the 50 all-black towns and settlements amongst the highest of any state and territory. So in Oklahoma, it became Black Wall Street. That's how it actually came about.
Unbelievable, man. See, that's what I'm saying, that when things are tough and times are hard, people become even more creative. And that's what happened with this Mr. Gurley. He realized that, hey, man, we're not going to get a helping hand from the colonizers. So,
right, exactly.
So we got to do our own thing, you know? And that's how he galvanized a few people, start doing the things he did, you know, helping his family and helping other black families. And that's how they were able to prosper then.
And his very first business, again, we're very innovative, right? And I always say, was segregation good for us or was it bad for us? Because we really truly had to recycle our dollars within, and we had to help each other. So Gurley's first business was a rooming house, which was located on railroad tracks, and it was in Greenwood, and it was called Greenwood Avenue, named for a city in Mississippi. So the area became very popular among black migrants fleeing the oppression in Mississippi, and they found refuge in Gurley's building as the racial persecution from the South was non-existent on Greenwood Avenue. And so from there, Gurley started providing monetary loans to black people, wanting to help them start their own businesses. So they were self-reliant. He eventually bought 5 residences and bought an 80-acre farm in Rogers County. He also founded what is today called Vernon AME Church, and he also helped build a Black Masonic Lodge and an.
Are you there, co-host? Are you there? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So Gurley actually net worth was reported as about $150,000 in 1914. About $3 million in would be at the value of $3 million in 2018. So he was one of the very first millionaires.
That's unbelievable, man. And part of what is his effort that he put into all of this was spread among others. And in 1915, they were able to form what they call the National Negro Business League, which they later named as the National Business League in 1966. And in that during that time frame, they were able to create over 600 chapters spread throughout 34 United States. So
now, didn't Marcus Garvey do something like that as well?
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. So his effort, along with Marcus Garvey and others, man, they were able to do that. And people were loving it because they're going, wow, yeah, man, we can now become self-sufficient. We don't need the man anymore. You know, the man is selling us hot dogs, but we can make our own hot dogs. Oh, man, it was amazing, man. It was amazing times because it was 5 years after that, 1920, that they had the colonizers decide to burn down Black Wall Street because they're going, man, these guys are thriving too much. They don't need us. We got to get them out of here.
Yeah, they had their own banks. They had black banks. They were able to provide loans to their small business communities to help them grow. They lived in beautiful homes. They dressed well. They were kosher. They were able to, because they made a world for themselves that they felt safe in, and because, like in most cases, long as the black folks ain't coming out messing with the colonizers, they don't even know what you doing over there. It's just when they find out what you doing that you become the target, right? So my understanding is that there were some white farmers that couldn't get loans at the white bank. And the one thing I will say about us black folks, man, we just too friendly sometimes. And we just too damn friendly, man. And so because they're friendly with everyone, they'll be friends with everyone, right? And so because the white farmers were having a hard time, then the black bank
lend them some money.
They lended some money. Of course, the white banks know that they ain't lent any money to the white farmers. And they're like, well, how did you get that money?
Well, we went to the blacks.
What? And that was all it took. Let's set somebody up and let's burn that mother down.
Those black banks. They can't be providing funds to our little white lower class people. What's going on here?
They supposed to be over there suffering, man. They're not supposed to have wealth and planes and lawyers and doctors and all of them things. They ain't supposed to be doing that. Millionaires living in the what?
So those blacks are too uppity. What makes them think they should be providing funds to our little white folks?
Yeah. Well, so in
1938, what did Rose do?
So Rose Meta Morgan opened the House of Beauty Salon, was the first of its kind to promote Black standards of beauty. I don't know too much about her, so I have to do a little research on her, but I do know at that same time, so she would have been probably the first black woman, although the very first black woman was Annie Malone. She had a product and she had lost all her hair. And so she created this herbal product. And then in that, everyone feels this Madam C.J. Walker, but it really wasn't. Madam C.J. Walker actually was a client of Annie Malone. And
Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker, they did the hair care products. But this lady, Miss Rose, she did
Miss Rose Meta,
the makeup and the cosmetics and the lotion.
Yeah, she actually opened up. Yeah, she opened up a beauty salon. So this is probably one of the first women's business owner, probably, to have her own business in the beauty salon, and of course creating that, and then along the same same lane, she then came along other women in the hair industry. And so, my big thing about beauty and the beauty industry being should be monopolized.
Yeah.
It should be monopolized by Black people because it has been part of our culture, our history, our ancestors. So Rose Magan, she had a, get this. So in 1946, so she opened it, but in 1946, she had a staff of 29, including 20 hairstylists, 3 licensed masseuse, and a registered nurse.
See, she kind of crossed over a little bit because she did the masseuse thing.
Yeah, she did
doing that then.
She was actually from 1912 to December 2008 was the owner and operator of the largest beauty salon for African Americans in history.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
And she then also became, in 1965, she became one of the founders of the New York's only Black-owned commercial bank, the Freedom National Bank. That's her history. I'll have to get some more information on her because I not ever heard of her.
Yeah, we got to put that on the Business Zone's website, man.
Yeah, so we got to figure out that's some interesting stuff. So
yes, we got to know her history, man.
She was so first woman business owner, and she went from her father was a former sharecropper turned businessman, and her mother was a homemaker. And she attended Morris School of Beauty after she styled Ethel Waters' hair in 1938. I guess that's how she opened up her salon. She rented a booth in Sugar Hill salons, and 6 months later opened her salon in an old mansion. By 1946, the salon had the 29 employees. In 1955, it relocated and reopened a new name, Roses Morgan's House of Beauty. And she also had a wig salon. She was part of an article in the Ebony magazine called "The Biggest Negro Beauty Parlor in the World." Wow. So that is what took place in 1938. Rose became the proud owner of the House of Beauty.
And it's amazing because 1938 is when she was happening. She was doing her thing. 6 years later, another superstar was born.
Now,
Mr. Reginald Lewis, man, he was born in 1942 in Baltimore, Maryland. And he went on to become one of the first Black billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay? And he had a company called TLC International, and where he was thriving to help a lot of small business, folks in the community. They said he was on the Forbes list of 400 richest Americans. You see what I'm saying? That was in 1993, because his estimated net worth was over $400 million at that time. But he went on to become a billionaire.
Right. So, now I have my family is involved in this one. My aunt actually
tell me about it, Coles.
TLC was the legal name, International Holding, but the actual company was called Beatrice Foods, and it was out in City of Commerce here in California, in Los Angeles. And my aunt worked there. And that's when I first learned about him. This was like my aunt was in LA around the 70s. We came in 74. She was working at Beatrice Foods at that time. And yeah, so he was a little rock star right here, a billionaire rock star, Black man in Los Angeles, California.
Doing his thing, huh?
Yeah. So now he died of a brain aneurysm in 1993. I remember that very clearly. I had just started my I was about a year from starting my own business, but laying out the groundwork for it.
Right.
And he died from a brain aneurysm. And his wife, who is, I believe, either Filipino or she was Chinese, actually owns the company
she had
today.
a name. Her name is Loida.
Yeah. So she was Asian. His wife was Asian. And so
very attractive woman too. Very attractive.
Very attractive. So Reginald Lewis, and there are books about Reginald. When I first went to school for my entrepreneurial courses, Reginald was one of the case studies that we read about on what it takes to build a manufacturing company.
Wow. So he had a blueprint.
He had a blueprint, right? And there's several books out there that you can get if you're really interested in learning about Reginald Lewis. But he was an American businessman. His books, and many of you may have read them, because if you were in business school at all, his one book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? That was a book. That was his first. And then as well, so he has Keep Going No Matter What. It's an excellent book to read. Lonely at the Top. That was a book that was about him. And Reginald Lewis Before TLC Beatrice Foods. So that is Reginald Lewis in 1980.
So his wife is Filipino.
Filipino, yeah. I know she was Asian. I thought it was Filipino.
Yeah, she's Filipino, man. Amazing.
Yeah. So in 2002, by this time I was in business in 2002. And I'm sure you were as well, Gilbert.
Yeah.
Or at least working toward that process.
Yeah, I was at LACCD gathering all my intellectual knowledge so I could run my business.
Right. So Black-owned businesses accounted for 1.2 million of the United States, 23 million businesses. So we, continued on. And for some of us, that is the only way we can actually acquire wealth, is through owning our own business.
That's right.
Because there's so much systemic racism in the corporate world in America.
In the
economic world, your opportunities are limited. And so being able to create your own business gives you that freedom. And then in 2022, 2011, 22, Black-owned businesses experience the most tremendous growth in starting businesses compared to any minority in the U.S. Now, that's part of the world we've been in since that time, right? We've been coaching and training.
A big part of that search, co-host, is it's from the music business, where many of the artists, the singers and performers, instead of going through the record labels and let them keep scamming them and stealing their money, they launch their own label and they sell their products online, like Prince. Remember Prince?
Yeah.
Changed his name from Prince to the artist formerly known as Prince.
Prince, right? Because they were trying to take his stuff.
Yes.
And they would not give him his name back when he left his label. So he had to change his name in order to still do, because the companies in the music industry is brutal, man. It is cutthroat. So they owned his name.
And that's why when the artists nowadays, when they decide to sign a contract with a record label or one of those big enterprise entity,
right,
they need to have an attorney review these contracts, because in the contracts with Prince, it states that he was supposed to produce X number of albums over a period of time, maybe 10 years. And they're saying that his name and his likeness is owned and controlled by the label, so he thought, man, I could pop out this these 10 albums, because I think he was supposed to be do one a year. So he said, you can pop out these 10 albums in no time and get out of it. Because I think they gave him an advance just to keep him engaged. But what he didn't realize is that anything that was affiliated with him and his name and his likeness, they were going to own that. So like videos, merch, all of those things. And he's going, what? I never agreed to this. But because of how the contract was written, his attorney saying, man, that's what this means. It's a global general term, it's like, nothing specific, but that's what it means.
Right.
So him and many of the other artists, TLC, many of those artists, man, they were just losing out like crazy. And that's why like Master P, that's where you have the emergence of Master P. He said, I'm not doing anything for any record label. I'm selling CDs out of the back of my car.
Right, exactly. Because also before with that, it was also Michael Jackson. He had to buy back his album from Sony.
Sony, yeah.
And they didn't want to let these things go. There's some others. Richard, I think Ray Charles had that problem. There's a number of James Brown refused to let them own his music. He was like a rebel in that space. So he controlled his own money.
And that's how many of those Black performers, entertainers, singers start making their own money. They start making millions. They start making real millions, instead of millions on paper.
Right, because they weren't beholden to anyone.
Yeah.
So we move forward into the 21st century, and we just start talking about some of them we've just been exploring, but there's so many notable Black entrepreneurs leading the charge in 2024, showcasing some amazing innovative ideas, thriving businesses, and contributions to their communities. When you look at the athletes, Kobe and Shaq owns about 150 businesses. He started using his money. Michael Jordan is extremely wealthy, not just from basketball, but because they took their money and reinvested it into creating businesses. Kevin Hart, a lot of them. I just saw there's a number of businesses around the city that Snoop has. And then, of course, we had Jay-Z, Beyonce. You have
even Oprah.
Oprah right now. I mean, billionaire. I think she's a millionaire.
She's a billionaire.
I think
she's 1.9 bill.
And then you have Damon John, whose net worth is about 350 million. Janice Bryan Howrody, she was actually the founder of Apple One, Act One.
Because Apple One was owned by her husband.
Right.
And he was a white guy.
Right. And I think they merged. I think that's right. So she she's a woman-owned workforce management company, actually recycling back dollars. That she was one of our main contributors when Muhammad Nazardine was alive. She loved Muhammad Nazardine. So she was worth about $420 million, still out there doing her thing. In fact,
I think she's still a board member of the Los Angeles Urban League too.
Yeah, I think she is. She's actually been she was on the community briefing when we first, back in October, in 2020.
That's great.
And this is for you, Gilbert. Alexander Miles, he was an inventor of the elevator with automatic doors.
That's right.
And his net worth was $500,000.
Yeah.
And then you have Robert Johnson and Sheila Johnson, who were the founders of BET, and that was a multi-million-dollar business and just a legacy of individuals. So
I think they sold that. They sold it for.
They sold it,
billions, man.
Yeah, for billions. So these are people who have defied all of the obstacles, all of the challenges. Racism is always always in the fabric of everything we do.
I think we
despite
need
that,
to do a part 2 on this, co-host.
I think so too.
Because we still haven't gotten through some of these, you know.
I know. So we're gonna actually come back. But what we really want you to know, and how we tie this into what's happening today, is that the United States would not be the country it is today without the African American countrymen contribution, and our strength, our determination, our faith, our creativity, and our drive.
Our style and fashion.
Right. Despite all of the challenges, all of the racism, they think taking DEI and taking affirmative action is going to make a difference. It's not. It's going to make us more determined than we were before. That's what happened that's how Black Wall Street. Take it away if you want to.
We'll be better second time around.
Version 10.0 ain't gonna be no joke. But the African Americans community experiences, ideas, and perspectives have contributed to the American experience, vitality, and success. So you cannot talk about America without talking about Black people. We are the American experience here in this country. This country, we brought music, we brought art, we brought food, we brought style of worship, we brought a sense of community. We literally reshaped America's identity and vision in the process. And so today, many elements of America's popular culture are deeply rooted in the African American culture. So extract that, and what do you have? That's what we started out with that video on. No, take me back. We going back. We celebrating Black History Month, because this would be a vanilla coated country. You know what it would be, and you kind of see it in resident right now. Yeah, you watch Western. My stepfather was big on Western. So what did they have?
Like Dusty on the prairie.
Yeah, they had dusty towns, and all they wanted to do was shoot up the towns, take all the money, gamble, and drink. And that's probably extreme, but if you watch Westerns, that's what you saw until the Black man came along and he started creating Black Wall Street.
That's when Cleveland Little came into me. You remember Cleveland Little on that horse? What's the name of it again? He went to this Western town, man. He was the only Black man in there on the horse. They're going, who the hell is it? I'm the sheriff. What? The Black sheriff.
Right, exactly.
Man, I love that show. What is it called again? I can't remember the name of the show.
Oh, was that the one? Was that the one with the white guy? Something Little? Was that the?
Yeah, his name is Cleveland Little, man. Hey, Brandon, you remember that show? It's a comedy, Black comedy, and a Western, and this guy was a sheriff, man. And man, they were trying to drive him out of town, like, "Hey, you're Black."
He wasn't going. There was a couple other movies. Yeah, there was a couple of movies. So we're just going to close out this particular part. We don't have a part 2 because it's necessary to have a part 2.
Part 2 next week.
Because there's so many people that we didn't even include in that.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as technology, cell phones wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for us. Yeah. So despite all of the successes and contributions, we
cable box, all of that,
everything. We as a nation still struggle every day overcoming racism and intolerance from people who don't recognize us as part of the fabric of this country. Yeah. We are continuously reminded of how far we've come in accepting and integrating our African American countrymen, and how far we have yet to go. However, as the poet and author James Baldwin once wrote, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. So I believe what we're going through right now is that change. And so, as President Obama said, we must remain focused on ensuring equal opportunity, openness, and inclusiveness being inclusive. No matter who someone is, what someone looks like, or where someone comes from, they deserve the same opportunity to thrive. And as the president said, where you start should not determine where you end up. Right. And so that's how we're closing the show today. Vote, guys. It's so important for you to go out and vote, because everything that we talked about today would not be possible if it had not been for us. We cannot allow our democracy to be destroyed and for us to be wiped out of the history of America, because we are the history of America.
Because of Project 2025.
And right, because of Project 25. And it is actually threatening so many parts of who we are. So there are a number of things going on in the city that I want you guys to be aware of. One of them is being hosted, and I'm going to switch this over to here. Understanding what you're voting for. Very, very important. So there are a number of organizations that are working really, really hard to make sure you understand what we are voting for November 5th. And we're not voting for the president. We're also voting down ballot. Very, very important. So this town hall is going on every Wednesday. It started on September 11th. It will go all the way through to October 30th, which is the week before we actually we vote, November 5th. It happens at the new townhouse in Los Angeles. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, you can go over there. It's free. It's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And every week they have special guests. So I just got a list from one of the hostesses, Emma Maxey. So last week on the 18th, they discussed ballot measures and propositions. On September 25th, they will be discussing Project 25. On October 3rd, they're going to be talking about the civics. What exactly is voting, and how do you vote, and what does it mean? And for those of you that never learned that in civics class, on October 9th, the judges, who are they? For Black folks, it's really important that you vote. You very, very important that you vote in the right judge.
I think because folks showed up the last time when they were getting ready to talk about how to vote for judges here in LA County. Remember, they had on the ballot that because the way the criminal justice system was going, they were arresting minorities and they wouldn't be able to get bail, cash bail.
Right.
Because what they were doing is they were making it difficult for them. And so the folks who were richer, they were able to make cash bail payments and they get out, but the minorities could not. And so that was on the ballot and people voted, and they changed that process. It was no longer like that. So
right. So your judges are important to know who they are and why you're voting for them and what they stand for. On October 16th, the school board and city council candidates, they're going to discuss that. On October 23rd is the electoral college. Why is that so important? And how can, so one of the issues right now is, will Trump actually, if he loses, will we have a replica of January 6th? And will he go through the process of forcing the electoral college to voting him in, not the popular vote, but the electoral college? And then on October 30th, you can bring your sample ballot. Everyone should have it. I know I just got my book yesterday. It also, we had the California State Treasurer on the community briefing yesterday, Gilbert.
Yeah.
And one of the things she said was California is going to be doing pretty much all mail-in vote, mail-in ballots. So when you get your mail-in ballot, put it somewhere safe. It won't be a sample. It will be the real deal. So that's what you will need in order to vote. Now you can take it to the city recorders in Norwalk. That's where I take mines, or to a lot of the depositories that are around the city. I just always want to make sure mine is going to the city city recorders. So I drive mines to Norwalk, but you can do that. But make sure you're involved. Make sure and explain this to your children. Let's get all our 18-year-olds out there that can vote. Actually, I learned recently that if you're 16 years old, you can register. You're registered. You can't vote until you're 18, but you're already in the system.
Wow, that's amazing, Coles. That's great information.
And the other thing I learned is if you have college students and they get their ballots, make sure parents, you get it to them so that they can vote, because they cannot vote in the states that they're going to school in. And you do not want to vote provisionary. You want to be able to have your ballot.
And they want to make sure their IDs are valid.
Yes, you got to make sure your IDs, if you've changed in some states out there, if you've gotten married and never changed your married last name to your maiden name, and you're registered in your it's the birthday boy. So Greg's birthday was yesterday.
Oh, really, man? Happy belated birthday, field correspondence. My honorary Jamaican.
Yes, happy birthday, Greg.
Happy birthday, man.
So we were heard he gonna vote for you, Gilbert.
I was running for I was running all right. I don't know what office I'm running from. I'm running for some Jamaican food. That's what I'm running for.
So we want you guys to be involved. We want you to understand what our heritage is, what our ancestors have done, how we have shaped America. So we have a voice in this country. We don't have to sit back and let everything happen to us. And we truly don't want what Project 25 is bringing to the table. And when Donald, when DJT talks about not having agenda, or he is a concept. It is a concept. It's called Project 2025. So no, that's what his agenda is. So you want to make sure that you are ready. We need to get everybody out there to vote. Just let's not be talking. Just tune in to a number of the organizations that are focusing. We need you to vote on November 5th. Make sure you're registered to vote. You can go to voting.org. I believe LAvote.org, right, Greg? I think we talked about that. We had somebody come on the community briefing. I think it's LAvote.org. And you can check and see if you're registered. He said you ran away from the hospital bill like you saying both. So basically, that's our show for today.
This was a great show, Coles. Great job, man. Great job with your research data.
We want to encourage you. Our final say, we want to encourage viewers to leave your thoughts and comments, share the video, check out our YouTube channel, like us. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that click that like button and leave your comments. Share that if there's some value to that. We will be there'll be clips of some vital parts of this, and you can share that. But
tell them about our accomplishments, co-host. Come on, 1600.
So today, but that doesn't mean we still need you guys to go over there and hit that subscribe button. But we reached 1,600 subscribers today, 1,650, yay, and 40,000 views. We are heading toward monetizing the channel.
All right, man.
And we're excited.
Greg, make sure you go get your family and friends, man. All 59 of them. Have them subscribe, okay?
They don't have to come back. Just subscribe and hit the like button. Man. But I enjoyed putting this together.
Oh, and this is a great job, Coles. You did.
Yeah. So we just want you. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Brandon, thank you. Brandon actually has asked us to do some stuff, Gilbert. I don't know if you saw that.
What did he ask us to do?
Brandon wants us to come and teach. He wants us to do a live class.
Oh, where? Where is that?
You have to go up. It's up in the chat there. It's up in the chat. He asked
seminar classes in lower class neighborhoods. If you want to help spark and get that small biz pro popping, man, you don't have to say anything else, Brandon. I'm there. Just let me know where, man.
So Brandon, hopefully you have our contact information. Reach out to us on our emails and let's make it happen. We'd love to come out and do.
I'll put my email in the chat again. Okay.
Yeah. So he says he wants us to come out and do what did he say? Something he said back up in here. We need your services in King Park in person. So I don't know where King Park is, but we need our services, Gilbert.
Man, I'm there, man. I'm there because I love to help entrepreneurs. I'll do whatever I can to help, man. Because when I was growing up and I was coming up in this, no one was really there to help me. So, now that I've achieved that threshold, I am willing to help, man. So,
all righty.
Make sure.
Yeah. So Brandon, reach out to us because we would love to help you. There's Gilbert's email address. But guys, we want to thank you. Have a great weekend. I'm going to a wedding on Sunday. Yeah, I know. My girlfriend's niece is getting married, so I'm going to a wedding on Sunday.
Why Gilbert, Sunday? The Saturday's too busy?
Yeah, cheaper. I think it was cheaper.
Oh, okay.
And they're 7-day Adventists, so Saturday is their church day.
Oh, I see.
So you can be riding around in your new Cadillac.
Oh man, out there riding around in that new and guess what, co-host?
What?
It's a big upgrade. It's an upgrade from what I had before.
Okay.
It's like the Bugatti.
Okay, the Bugatti of explorers.
Man, it's got all these features. I'm blown away. I'm going, what?
So you're gonna be riding around checking out features and going beep 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 beep.
Man, I'll be sampling everything out there, man. This was great, man.
So Greg, Gilbert got a new vehicle. Oh, he's riding around in his Cadillac.
Got a new ride, brother. Got a new ride, man. After all these weeks of torture from the car dealerships, right, I finally scraped by, man, and got this thing, man, where they couldn't scam me anymore. So,
well, I'm glad you got it and that you're happy with it.
Even Crystal and I went to the dealership on Saturday, man, and we still couldn't do it, man. With her influence and me, couldn't happen, man. So,
oh, Greg, you should have seen him. He was vicious, man. He was vicious. Actually, I would have loved to see you and Greg there because Greg be getting down to the nickels and the dimes. Those poor little salespeople would have been running out of there crying. But Greg, he was vicious. Yeah, Greg y'all would have been a formidable duet. Duo, man.
I wish I had known that he's got those skills, man. I would have taken him along, man.
I would have been hitting them with knuckle punches on both sides. Man. They would have been doing like this. But yeah, he was awesome. All right, everyone.
I was getting ready to say, man, Crystal, do you think I should bleed him? Want to bleed him? Let me bleed him.
Oh yeah, you pissed him off pretty well, though. They were pretty pissed off. All right, everyone, we're going to sign off. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there and be cool during the little heat wave that we're going to get.
The mini wave.
The mini wave.
I'll see you guys next week, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend and come back to the Business Zone next week with new subscriptions, okay?
All righty, bye-bye.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As As a small biz pro, so we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a business